either of you walked a piece of land and looked around and seen how the current owner or future seller is hunting it and gone, yeah, I don't know what these people are doing here? And where you're looking that they're not successful because they're not, in your opinion, not hunting it the way that they could be more successful. Have you ever run across anything like that?
I think that goes without saying. I think there's some people that they have an old school mentality. They hunt the same stand no matter what the wind is. They just have their spots, and that's great. Listen, I get it. You might not be able to adjust the time you hunt. You got Saturday and Sunday. It doesn't matter what the weather is. You got to go hunt, and that was Grandpa's stand. And all you want is to be 12 feet or 15 feet closer to God, and that's what that stand does for you. I'm good with that.
And that property may have, depending on its size, come gun season, it might not be anything like bow season, right? You might
Correct.
have one person hunting it during bow season. You might have 6 during gun season. And to your point about calling it Grandpa stand, that tradition associated with the property is there. So we look at it and we say, yeah, we really wouldn't quite hunt it that way. And we have plenty of buyers that might share the same insight once they're looking at it. But it's something to remember with a lot of the properties we work with is we often don't get a lot of history of the hunting background or current, I should say the hunting history, the stories, okay. As it got passed through the family generationally may be there, but the current hunting history is often unavailable because the main reason people sell is a lack of use. Whether it's because they simply can't use it or they live too far away to come home to use it. And so I think it's often more important to me anyways as the agent associated with a property, for people wondering, okay, what do I do to increase the value of my property if we're going to list it? What do I look for as the listing agent or the buyer's agent if I'm trying to vet a property on its hunting history? Trail cam photos are more important to me than harvest photos, kind of for the reason you pointed out, Jackie, that sometimes you can't really help how people hunt. However, if you give me trail cam photos, those are the deer that are there generally.
I do. I get guys that'll give me all night photos. Yeah. And there's incredible deer. And the new buyer goes, well, do the deer move during the day there? I'm like,
so, now we break it down to where the camera's located or
how much pressure that guy's putting on it.
Or even from the sake of the fact that these are photos getting put on the internet, like sometimes those night photos pop the best. Like that black and white look to it. It's easier to say when in daylight if you've got a lower caliber of camera where it's a fuzzy photo. Or is it a moving photo? Or is there some fog, dew, some moisture on the camera lens early in the morning? It could be that they have it pointed in the wrong direction in the evening where it's got that westerly, direction, southwest, where the sun is setting and hitting it and that lens is all glared. And it's like, they sent me these photos, but I can't use them. I can't put it on there. Everyone, guys clicking through on the internet are gonna be like, what the heck is this? What kind of dummy put this photo on here? I can't even see a deer in it.
I take it one step further than even that, because just over the years, we're given, sometimes some guys, we ask them, hey, give me a photo dump. We give them a Dropbox and they dump 1,100 photos in there. And the guy goes, I hunt here and I'm doing this and it's all good. But deer, 180-inch deer don't walk around in the daytime 365 days of the year. By nature, they're nocturnal. By nature, they're incredibly intelligent.
Or generally living their daylight hours, if they are on their feet, are somewhere that you're probably not going to slip a camera into. Or if you did slip the camera in there, they may not be living there anymore.
Right, okay, so let's take it a step further than that. Today's cell phone cameras or trail cameras with cellular technology, cell cameras are, a lot of times, you can go put those in a place, right? You can go put them there. But that's fairly new technology, right? Some guy hands you a bunch of trail camera pictures. I've got some that have bait piles as big as Volkswagen Beetles on them. And then they're time-stamped 1995, and we do get those histories. But deer by nature, like for me, I think that if a guy gives me a whole bunch of pictures and they're good pictures, that tells me, hey, we're dealing with a really good piece of ground. I start looking at, well, how many of these have you harvested? He's like, oh, we see them now and again. And then we start looking at their wall and they're like, okay, maybe they're not waiting for the next level deer. Maybe they're just seeing the first 2-year-old that comes out, they're shooting it, and they're just happy with that. Yeah. And so that is like, maybe they're not hunting it the best. Maybe it wouldn't be set up for trophy hunting. For us, we cover a lot of people. Some guys just want to go in the woods. They buy a property, they want to set it up just to take their kids hunting and see deer. Other people are like, I want to know every deer my neighbor harvests, right? And there's places where that works, and we live in one of those places. He lives in one of those places. But then there's people and within there that just are not worried about it. But we can help them become better hunters. We do a lot of consulting. Both Pat and I do consulting with people wanting to set up a property, from a timber harvest to putting in food plots, water holes, things like that. We do quite a bit of that throughout the year.
Or at the least, if they're not, if they're more the DIY folks where they have a vision for how they want to set up, at the least we know the contractors in the area that we would recommend to help them accomplish that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of it's just excavation work or where to put stands. Like, don't go in there and sometimes guys want to sit where all the deer are. Well, deer want to be where the wind is at its absolute, we call it the dirtiest, right? The wind is moving in multiple directions any given day. And you have all these intersections and you're like, the wind is unstable in these positions and people want to hunt there. And it's like, well, the deer is coming from somewhere and he's going from somewhere. And he's using this spot. You can put a trail camera here, but at the same time, maybe we just don't hunt here. But that was the norm back in the day. Think about where we at with technology. Bows, when I started hunting a bow and arrow, if I could get a 12 or 15 yard shot, I was ecstatic. Now, most of my stands, like my furthest shot should be 40 yards. People are like, 40 yards? I'm gonna need a gun. And I'm like, well, we do 40 yards. I try to cut that deer off between 40 yards and my stand so that he's gonna move somewhere there without getting my wind. And that wasn't always the case even 15 years ago.
No, not necessarily.
Archery technology came a long way. Which alludes me to a little bit
I've
of
been
like,
waiting you to tie this back. All right, now we're at archery technology.
Archery
I know
technology.
you've got a pivot here.
The pivot is that the majority of our buyers are archery hunters.
Correct.
We talk about archery hunters because the majority of the people who are buying property buy like in the 90s percentile.
Has it always been that way?
Always been that way.